No. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. The ayes have it. The bill is passed.
That's our focus on Super 6. Let's begin with the headlines. After 2 days of fiery showdown, the Waqf bill passed in both houses of parliament. Prime Minister Modi hails the landmark legislation. Congress AIMIM moves Supreme Court.
अगर कांग्रेस पार्टी और दूसरे विपक्ष के लोग व्हिप जारी नहीं करते तो हम कई गुना और आगे वोट मिलते हैं, क्योंकि सब लोग अंदर से अंतरात्मा से तो सपोर्ट करते हैं वक्त अमेंडमेंट बिल को।
Kerala Muslim body slams Rahul and Priyanka over Waqf bill, questions Priyanka's absence during voting, accuses Rahul of being silent in parliament during Waqf debate. Annamalai fuels suspense over Tamil Nadu BJP chief post, admits he is not in the race, says will jointly elect party state chief. BJP attacks Mamta over teachers' recruitment scam, says Bengal most corrupt under Mamta and seeks her resignation as chief minister. Commerce Minister flays Indian startups. Piyush Goyal's comment on startups triggers storm. Indian startups need a reality check, Piyush Goyal says. Startup founders hit back. And US revises tariff for India from 27% to 26%. White House documents show 27% duty on India. Meanwhile, China imposes 34% additional tariffs now on US goods. So Parliament done and dusted. The Waqf Amendment Bill has passed the Lok Sabha test and then the Rajya Sabha test, with the vote being conducted in the Rajya Sabha last night, or rather early this morning. But the protests continue. The Congress MPs today, just before Lok Sabha was adjourned, Sanadai was seen protesting in the Parliament complex, making it clear that the politics now continues. The Congress is also moving the Supreme Court, challenging the constitutionality of the legislation in the Supreme Court. The AIMIM also has followed suit. There are widespread protests now across India over the Waqf Amendment Bill. We'll round up all those updates for you first in our report and then decode the details further.
प्रस्ताव स्वीकृत हुआ और विधेयक यथा संशोधित पारित हुआ.
Waqf Amendment Bill gets Parliament nod.
The bill is passed.
After 2 days of fiery debate, the bill renamed Ummeed was passed by both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who is on a foreign visit, hailed the passage of the bill. The Prime Minister said the passage of the bill marked a watershed moment and that the amendment law will help those who have long remained on the margins, denied both voice and opportunity.
वक्त अमेंडमेंट बिल को सब लोग सपोर्ट किए हैं. कई विपक्ष के एमपीज हमको आके कहा है कि निजी तौर पर सपोर्ट करते हैं. अच्छा बिल है.
Somebody once asked.
After strongly protesting against the Waqf Amendment Bill in Parliament, the Congress is now preparing to move the Supreme Court once the bill gets Parliament's nod.
संविधान के संरक्षण की जिम्मेदारी तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट की है. संविधान का कस्टोडियन तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट है. तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट को देखना है कि किस तरह से किया गया है. जो हमारे पास लीगल रास्ते होंगे, क्योंकि मैं कोई कानूनविद नहीं हूँ, तो इसके अंदर सबसे मशवरा कर करके, सबसे राय कर करके तब इसमें कदम आगे बढ़ाया जाएगा.
This is the clear attitude. So this is a clear-cut attitude of the central government on minorities, especially on Christians. Sometimes they will tell about the Munambam issue when Waqf bill is coming. Now you see the real color. Their anti-minority attitude.
Meanwhile, protests erupted in many states against the Waqf bill.
protesters with black bands in their arms like this, or they're lying down on the streets. As I said, this is a very busy intersection. Heavy police presence, senior police officers are here trying to man the streets because, as I said, this is a very crucial intersection.
वक़्फ़ बिल को लेकर जो है विरोध अभी भी चल रहा है। भले संसद से बिल पारित हो गया पर अभी भी यहाँ पे लोग जो है डटे हुए हैं। अहमदाबाद की सिटी सैयद की जाली के बाहर जो है ये विरोध किया जा रहा है। इनकी मांग है कि वक़्फ़ जो है वो बिल वापस लिया जाए। यहाँ पे जो बैनर्स हैं वो बैनर्स लगाए गए हैं। यूसीसी और वक़्फ़ जो है दोनों वापस लिया जाए।
ये नहीं होना चाहिए। इससे जो माइनॉरिटीज़ हैं, मुसलमान हैं, उनका इंस्टीट्यूशन है ये, और इस तरह से उसको बुलडोज करके पार्लियामेंट में, राज्यसभा में इसको पास करना, मैं समझती हूँ कि ये डाका डालने के बराबर है, जो बहुत गलत है, जो नहीं होना चाहिए।
Meanwhile, 3 senior leaders of the JDU have resigned from the party, citing disagreement over its support to the Waqf Amendment Bill. Mohammad Kazim Ansari, Mohammad Shahnawaz Malik and Mohammad Tabrez Siddiqui, in separate letters to Bihar Chief Minister Nitish Kumar, said the party had lost the trust of Muslim community.
ये बिल दस्तूर हिंद के खिलाफ है, शरीयत के खिलाफ है, इसलिए किसी भी सूरत में हम इस बिल को कबूल करने को तैयार नहीं हैं। नीतीश कुमार से हमारा कोई इख्तलाफ नहीं है। इख्तलाफ इस स्टैंड से है कि वो वक्फ बिल की हिमायत कर रहे हैं।
The RJD slammed the JDU over its stand on the Waqf bill.
कुछ जो सेकुलर पार्टियां और जो अपने आप को सेकुलर नेता जो कहते थे, उनका कहीं ना कहीं पर्दाफाश जो है हुआ है। जिन लोगों ने बिल का समर्थन किया है, उसको बिहार की जनता जो है मुंह तोड़ जवाब देगी।
ब्यूरो रिपोर्ट, इंडिया टुडे।
कोशिश की गई।
And now you're seeing this quickly move from a political battle to a legal battle. After the Congress, the AIMIM has also moved the Supreme Court. Asaduddin Owaisi, the AIMIM chief, has filed a petition in the Supreme Court against the Waqf bill. As Owaisi in his petition has said that the Waqf bill is anti-constitutional. So we'll have to see how now this plays out in the courts. Remember that Owaisi in the Lok Sabha, when speaking on the issue, ripped the bill apart, tore it to say very clearly, I do not accept this particular legislation. So Asaduddin Owaisi made his voice heard and his protest against the bill in the parliament, now taking this forward in court as well. After ripping that paper, the Waqf bill copy, in his hand at the Lok Sabha, he's now filed a petition in the Supreme Court. And I'd like to bring in Srishti Ojha, a legal reporter, for more details. So on this, Srishti, multiple petitions now being filed to the Supreme Court in a matter of hours after the Waqf Amendment Bill was passed in Parliament.
Well, yes, Akshita, we've seen 2 petitions that have been filed before Supreme Court challenging the validity of the Waqf Amendment Act. One by Congress MP Mohammad Javed, who's also challenged it on the grounds that it violates the fundamental rights which are accorded under the Constitution to the Muslims. Another one by MP Mr. Owaisi, who's also challenged the Waqf Amendment on various grounds, one being that it violates the fundamental rights of the Muslim community. Grounds taken in Mr. Owaisi's petition is also that according to him and his petition before the top court, this Amendment Act take away various protections which were accorded to the Waqfs. He's saying that this diminishing of the protection by bringing in the amendment while retaining the same protections which are given to other religious or charitable endowments of other religions would be hostile discrimination against the Muslims and therefore violative of their rights. They're saying that while Parliament represents the will of the people in today's era, the Supreme Court, they basically called in the Supreme Court and urged the top court to discharge its constitutional duty, saying that it's the court will have to now protect the minority from the tyranny of the majority. So these are some big remarks that are made in Mr. Owaisi's petition, which he has filed before the top court, amending, challenging the amendments which are being brought. Interesting to note here that both these petitions have been filed before the Act has even been notified. Usually, as far as the procedure goes, challenge to the constitutional validity of Acts usually come in after the Act is formally, officially notified and has received the President's assent. So it may also be a little premature. We'll have to see what happens when these petitions come up before the top court. If these petitions are listed before the top court before the acts are officially notified, that also might be a concern that, or is also something that might be also flagged by the top court itself, and they in all likelihood may have to amend their petition considering the act has not been notified yet.
Okay, interesting. We'll see what really plays out in the courts. Thanks very much, Srishti, for joining us with those details. All petitions, essentially, that have been filed before the top court right now say one thing. They claim that the act, or the bill rather, is discriminatory against one particular community, against one religion. We'll see what the Supreme Court has to say, but it's not the first time that we've seen this kind of a fight playing out, in the sense that you have a bill passing the scrutiny of Parliament and then it's taken up in the Supreme Court. We can list out for you a series of such instances. Article 370 abrogation. 3 petitions were filed in the Supreme Court in August 2019 over this issue. What did the Supreme Court do? Well, it decided on the multiple petitions filed, upholding the decision that was taken of abrogation. It said that Article 370 was just a temporary provision. Here too, you had multiple petitions saying that abrogation is simply not possible. The Supreme Court said the abrogation is very much possible. The legality of it was questioned. The Citizenship Amendment Act, another contentious issue, and a reminder of that constantly being given to us amid the Waqf debate. 200 petitions were filed with the top court over this issue. What about the Supreme Court verdict? It's pending at this point, so we're still awaiting what the Supreme Court decides on this. But in March 2024, last year, when these petitioners also sought a stay on CAA till the court takes a decision on the matter, the Supreme Court didn't allow that, saying there will be no stay. CAA will continue as is. When we give our verdict, we give our verdict. Triple talaq. Again, as soon as the bill was passed in 2019, you had 3 petitions being filed against this particular reform in August 2019. This was a bill, remember, that removed the concept of triple talaq. At this point, the Supreme Court is still hearing these petitions. 2019 is when the petitions were filed. At this point, the verdict is still pending. The centre has been asked to submit details of cases since enactment of the bill, because it's become an act now. There is a triple talaq essentially has been made illegal, so we'll have to see what really happens in the Supreme Court. CEC appointment bill, a very contentious issue. You had 2 petitions being filed last year on this, seeking quashing of the law. What was the law? In Parliament, essentially, it was decided that the members who are a part of the board, the CGI, will not be a part of the members for CEC appointment, which is the Election Commissioner. At this point, the Supreme Court is still hearing this matter, but again, much like previously, there was a petition seeking a stay on the implementation of the new law. The Supreme Court said, no, we will not stay it. We will give our verdict whenever it happens. Now, the NJAC Act, which is the National Judicial Appointments Commission, right now in focus with what's happened with Justice Yashwant Verma. Now, this bill essentially was challenged by Supreme Court advocates on record association. So the Supreme Court advocates themselves filed this plea, saying that we can't have external bodies deciding on judicial appointments. Now, the Supreme Court here took that step of repealing the bill. The Apex Court termed the law as unconstitutional. They said that this is clearly interference in judicial matters by the executive. So interestingly, this is perhaps the only piece of legislation where you have actually seen the Supreme Court repealing the action, repealing the reform. The NJAC Act is the only one. The rest, some of them are pending. The others, the Supreme Court has upheld. The Act has upheld the reform. Let's get you more breaking news coming in on the Waqf Showdown. And it looks like for the NDA, there is some trouble over the Waqf Amendment Bill. It's not just from the opposition, but the JDU RLD is seeing quite a bit of turmoil after they chose to support the bill in Parliament. There are minority leaders, Muslim leaders from JDU and RLD who've been resigning. A wave of resignations that have hit the JDU, with 5 JDU leaders, 2 RLD leaders quitting their parties over their support for the Waqf bill. The RLD and the JDU in Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha voted in favour of the Waqf Amendment Bill. They put forth some terms and conditions which was accepted, so they went ahead and provided their support for the bill. And because of that, there seems to be backlash within the party. For the JDU particularly, not looking good considering they're just months away from elections.
सबसे बड़ी बात यह है कि मैं बड़े मन से आज राष्ट्रीय लोकदल से इस्तीफा देता हूं। पार्टी का प्रदेश महासचिव हूं और पार्टी के जो सदस्यता है उससे मैं आज इस्तीफा देता हूँ। और मैं तो यही कहूंगा, कोई भी ऐसे लोग, कोई भी ऐसी पार्टी हो, चाहे वो बड़ी पार्टी हो चाहे छोटी पार्टी हो, जो आपके साथ ना खड़े हो तो आपको उसको छोड़ देना चाहिए, उसके साथ नहीं रहना चाहिए। जब इलेक्शन का टाइम आएगा तो हमें याद कर लिया जाएगा और जब हम उन लोगों की जरूरत होगी तो हमें छोड़ दिया जाएगा। तो बहुत सेकुलरिज्म की बात करने वाले लोग तो आने वाले वक्त में इनको कहीं ना कहीं पता भी चलेगा, लोग बताएंगे।
Okay, let's bring in Rohit Singh for more details. He's joining us live from Patna. Rohit, there will be questions about what kind of repercussions the JDU will face as a result of having voted in favor of the Waqf Amendment Bill. 5 leaders have already quit the party. Muslim leaders, Rohit, what is the impact this will have on the party, especially considering we're months away from elections in Bihar?
Well, Akshita, it was very much on expected lines what is happening in the last 24 hours. We are seeing that ripples being felt in the NDA as also in Janata Dal United after Nitish Kumar decided to support the Waqf Amendment Bill in Lok Sabha as well as the Rajya Sabha where this bill has been passed. And in the last 24 hours, at least 5 Muslim leaders, Muslim faces of the Janata Dal United have resigned. Now the question is that they may not be big faces, big names, but as I've been always telling Akshita, politics is all about perception, and the perception that is being built here in Bihar right now is that Muslims are extremely upset, especially Muslim leaders who are part of the Janata Dal United. They are extremely miffed with Nitish Kumar. Just last week, Nitish Kumar was attending a series of iftar parties in Patna, and just a week later, we are seeing that he has supported the Waqf Amendment Bill, which the Muslim community has been opposing vehemently. So, several leaders have already quit the party. 2 or 3 big faces have already aired their angst against Nitish Kumar. They have voiced their concern, and it is almost certain, Akshita, that in days to come you will see more resignations coming out and more Muslim leaders resigning, because see, it's an election year and nobody wants to burn their own finger by remaining in Janata Dal United, because everyone knows that if they stay in Janata Dal United, especially the Muslim leaders, they will have to face the backlash in the elections.
So clearly there is going to be an impact with the Muslim vote bank of the JDU. How bad will it really be for the JDU? How badly will it dent them in the upcoming elections? We'll just have to wait and see. Thanks, Rohit, for those details. And focusing on the Waqf debate, if you missed out on some of the highlights of what was really playing out in the Rajya Sabha, we've got you covered. One of the most viral moments from the debate is what we're about to show you, of Ramdas Athawale's rather poetic jabs that left the House in splits. One of those moments when you had both the government and opposition all laughing it out together. Enjoy this.
इतनी हो गई है रात, मैं कर रहा हूँ वक्त व्हील पर बात, मैं दे रहा हूँ मोदी जी को साथ, मैं दे रहा हूँ मोदी जी को साथ, इसलिए कांग्रेस को मैं दिखा रहा हूँ हाथ। मोदी जी तो मुसलमानों की बात करते हैं, मोदी जी तो मुसलमानों की बात करते हैं, लेकिन कांग्रेस वाले मुसलमानों का आघात करते हैं। हम किसी को भी नहीं जाएंगे शरण, क्योंकि माइनॉरिटी के मिनिस्टर है रिजिजू किरण। वक्त बिल का हम करते हैं स्मरण, वक्त बिल का हम करते हैं स्मरण, लेकिन अपोजिशन को हम करा देंगे हरण। नरेंद्र मोदी जी है मुसलमानों के सच्चे वाली, नरेंद्र मोदी जी मुसलमानों के सच्चे वाली। खड़गे साहब बजाओ जोरदार ताली। मत दे दो रोज मोदी साहब को गाली, मत दे दो रोज मोदी साहब को गाली, नहीं तो कुर्सी करो खाली। विरोधी दलों की रात हो रही है काली, विरोधी दलों की रात हो रही है काली, नड्डा सा बजाओ तुम भी ताली।
Leave it to Mr. Attawale to get both the opposition and the government in splits, laughing it out together. Let's get you another moment that's been spoken about a whole lot from Rajya Sabha, where you had Rajya Sabha MP, MDMK chief, Vaiko speaking and threatening BJP MPs, essentially threatening them in Tamil, saying, step foot in Tamil Nadu and we'll teach you a lesson. And over this, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman also lashed out at Vaiko. Take a look at that exchange.
Vaiko ji, member, Vaiko ji, oh my God, Vaiko ji, I'll come to you, I'll give you the opportunity. Honorable Finance Minister.
But one line is said, one line, please. He might be very emotional, sir, but that one line he said is objectionable and I will seek your indulgence to remove it. He said, Tamil Nadu kaaduvai paakren. You enter Tamil Nadu, I'll see you. No good. No good. Illa, tappade, tappe. Sollakudadu. நீங்க அப்படி பேசுறது தப்பு. நீங்க அப்படி பேசுறது ரொம்பவே தப்பு. இந்த நாட்டுல யார் வேணாலும் எங்க வேணாலும் கால் வைப்போம். யாருக்கு அதிகாரம் இல்ல உணர்வு உயிர் பேச.
Honorable Finance Minister.
So sir, this is atrocious. You set foot in Tamil Nadu and take care. What is that language?
We have a Home Minister after a long time who has brought about changes unthinkable. What he said, you can be fully assured.
So with all that's transpired essentially in Parliament, you've got now a Kerala Muslim body lashing out at both Priyanka and Rahul Gandhi over the Waqf debate. Now, the mouthpiece of an influential Muslim social organization in Kerala has criticized the Gandhis. The editorial questioned why Rahul Gandhi was silent during the entire debate on Waqf and lashed out at him for not speaking up for minorities and said, why didn't he choose to be a part of the Waqf debate? Now, the editorial also lashed out at Priyanka Gandhi, questioning why she wasn't there, saying her absence is a black mark on her political record. They added that this indicates her lack of seriousness and responsibilities towards her duties as a parliamentarian. So harsh, scathing remarks there by a Muslim body in Kerala. Shibi Mol is joining us with more details on this. Shibi, take us through really what was said in this particular column that was published by a Kerala Muslim body where they've pulled up Rahul Gandhi, they've pulled up Priyanka Gandhi. Also tell us about this organization. How influential are they in Kerala?
Akshita, this was through a newspaper called Suprabhadam Daily, which is the mouthpiece of Samasta. Samasta is a very prominent Muslim organization in the state, one of the most influential, politically influential organization here. They mostly back the left in certain elections unofficially, but very strong influence the organization has in the state. It's through their daily mouthpiece, Suprabhadam, that they've criticized Priyanka Gandhi as well as Rahul Gandhi. In fact, it was a piece analyzing the Waqf Amendment Bill with the title that, now it's the time for a legal battle because whatever can be done at the court. That's the explainer that they start with, but then later goes on to criticize Priyanka Gandhi for not being present in the parliament, in the house when the bill was taken for discussion, saying that being the most prominent face among the Kerala MPs in the state, she should have been there. She should have spoken about it, is what the Daily criticizes. They also criticizes Rahul Gandhi, the leader of opposition, saying that it was not just essential to be present there. He should have been there and speaking in the house, taking part in this discussion. He stood there seeing how the fundamental rights of Muslim community was getting bulldozed. That's a criticism that this Suprabhadam Daily through the editorial takes on Rahul Gandhi and Priyanka Gandhi. They've also gone on to appreciate the India bloc parties like TMC, left parties, and the Congress also for taking a stand together and opposing the the Waqf Amendment Bill.
So we'll wait for a reaction from the Gandhis or the Congress on those comments. Thanks, Shibi, for joining us with those details. Okay, away from Waqf, let's focus now on the latest from the Indian Premier League, away from the Indian political league. Venkatesh Iyer smashed his way back to form as the Kolkata Knight Riders comprehensively defeated their opponents from the last season's final. And today, it'll be a face-off between the Lucknow Super Giants and Mumbai Indians. More in our report.
Over to you. heads.
In a highly anticipated encounter, Sunrisers Hyderabad were up against Kolkata Knight Riders at the iconic Eden Gardens.
We're going to have a bowl first.
Asked to bat first, Kolkata suffered early dents, but Ankrish Rakwanshi and Ajinkya Rahane pushed on with some amazing stroke play.
No chance.
Venkatesh Iyer and Rinku Singh led the carnage in the death overs as the defending champions finished exactly on 200.
For the home side, the crowd are absolutely loving this.
In reply, Hyderabad lost wickets at regular intervals and were bowled out for a paltry 120, losing their third match in succession.
This will be it, surely won't drop it off his own.
Today, it will be a contest between Lucknow Super Giants and Mumbai Indians at the Ikana Stadium. All eyes will be on Rishabh Pant and Rohit Sharma, both of whom are yet to click with the bat. LSG will be looking to overcome the unhappy homecoming after a thumping defeat against Punjab Kings. Mumbai, on the other hand, will be seeking a continuation of their fiery form. Sports Bureau, India Today.
And that's all we have time for in this edition of Super 6. Thanks very much for tuning in. Coming up on the other side of a short break, I decode for you some of the week's biggest stories. Thanks for tuning in.
Motorola Razr 50 Ultra comes with Google Gemini.
I don't read the news. I read between the lines to tell you the true version of events. The true story of our times.
To document grief, the toughest assignment for any journalist to be.
From those who matter.
Women politicians going to stick up for each other.
Of those who should matter. I document the truth. I don't distort the truth. I don't glamorize the truth. I don't gloss over the truth.
The ghosts of India's contentious medieval history have come knocking again.
I hustle for the truth. On the ground, in the newsroom, in the studio. I don't try to grab eyeballs.
I inform you to make you see the point.
To the Point with Preeti Chaudhary. At these times, only on India Today.
Next year, that'll be me. I will never be ordinary.
Motorola Edge 60 Fusion. Edge out the ordinary.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola Razr 50 Ultra comes with Google Gemini.
Hello, I am AI anchor Sana, bringing the top headlines for you, presented by Motorola. Congress MP Mohammad Javed filed first petition against Waqf Amendment Bill in Supreme Court, says violation of Muslim rights. Anti-Waqf protests intensify in Kolkata and Ahmedabad, heavy police deployment for Waqf bill stir, over 50 protesters detained in Ahmedabad. Cabinet approves 4 rail projects in 3 states at estimated cost of 18,658 crore rupees.
While covering news, there is no room for fluff. No distractions. No dodging the truth. No blanks, no misfires. Just sharp, fearless journalism.
Every story, every debate, every question, straight to the point.
welcome. You're watching India Today Explains. I'm Akshita Nandagopal, and this week we'll be talking about the 4 biggest stories that we've been tracking. First, of course, what's dominated headlines, the Waqf reform. We'll decode for you what this reform introduced by the government in Parliament was all about, what are the changes it brings to the existing Waqf Act. Also on the show, the other big headline of the week, it's Tariff Week, Liberation Day, as Trump calls it. What exactly are tariffs? Why is India constantly referred to by America as the tariff king? We'll also talk about Kachativa, a small island that's been in the midst of a heated political discourse here in the country. Why exactly is this island such disputed property and territory? We'll tell you all about that. And finally, on the show, we'll also talk about US President Donald Trump's latest claim that he could even push for a 3rd term as US President. Is that actually possible in America? We'll decode all that for you. Let's get started. The Modi government is overhauling the Waqf Act to restrict the unfettered powers of the Waqf Board, the country's 3rd largest landowner after the Indian Railways and Armed Forces. Let's tell you all about the Waqf Amendment Bill. Starting off with the very basics, what exactly is Waqf? Well, Waqf is defined as a property given in the name of God for religious and charitable purposes. Section 3 of the Waqf Act defines what a Waqf property is, and here's what it says, I'm quoting, Waqf means the permanent dedication by any person of any immovable or immovable property for any purpose recognized by the Muslim law as pious, religious or charitable. Now, a property can become a Waqf through a deed or instrument, or a property can be deemed Waqf if it's been used for religious or charitable purposes for a long period of time. The proceeds are typically used to finance educational institutions, graveyards, mosques and shelter homes. As per Sharia law, once a land goes to Waqf, it cannot be reversed. Notably, their land holdings, the Waqf Board's land holdings, have doubled since 2009. So what's the history of the Waqf Act? Well, the Act was first passed by Parliament back in 1954. Subsequently, it was repealed and a new Waqf Act was passed in 1995 that essentially gave more powers to Waqf boards. In 2013, the Act was further amended, again to give far-reaching powers to the Waqf Board to designate property as Waqf property. So what does the Waqf Board do? Currently, every state has a Waqf Board headed by a chairperson, 1 or 2 nominees from the state government, Muslim MLAs and MPs, Muslim members of the State Bar Council and Islamic scholars. The boards have the power to administer the property and take measures to recover and sanction any transfer of immovable property of Waqf. This can be by way of gift, sale, mortgage or lease. The Waqf Board has also been granted complete unrestrained power when it comes to registering properties. And as a result of that, Waqf boards currently have almost 8,70,000 immovable properties, 16,173 movable properties, and 3,56,031 estates in more than 8 lakh acres of land. And it's because of this that Prime Minister Modi set his eyes on reforming this act and tweaking its powers.
बाबा साहब आम्बेडकर जी ने जो संविधान हमें दिया है ना, जिस संविधान की रक्षा के लिए हम प्रतिबद्ध है, संविधान में वक्फ कानून का कोई स्थान ही नहीं है.
So the government introduced the Waqf Amendment Bill, and as expected, this has triggered a big political fight. Let's first recap for you what happened in August 2024 when the bill was first introduced in Parliament. This was the Waqf Amendment Bill 2024, which was introduced in the Lok Sabha on 8th August 2024. And the very next day, it was referred to a joint parliamentary committee with MPs from the ruling party and the opposition.
पूरा वक्फ बोर्ड को कब्जा करके रखा हुआ है और आम मुसलमान लोगों को जो न्याय इंसाफ नहीं मिला उसको सही करने के लिए ये बिल लाया गया है. इतिहास में दर्ज होगा कि ये बिल को कौन कौन समर्थन किया है और किसने विरोध किया है. ये इतिहास में नाम दर्ज होगा.
So once the JPC report was out, the cabinet approved 14 amendments to the bill. These amendments modify several contentious provisions of the original bill. The original 2024 bill mandated that every property dedicated to Waqf must be registered within 6 months. Now, the JPC's amendment is flexibility in that timeline, and so the Waqf Tribunal can extend the deadline in some cases. Another point, one of the most controversial aspects of the original 2024 August bill was the enhanced role given to district collectors in determining whether properties claimed as Waqf were actually government properties. Now, the bill based on the JPC recommendation has been tweaked so not collectors but a more senior designated government officer chosen by the state government will decide on properties. The other big change is in the composition of the Waqf board. The original 2024 bill mandated for a non-Muslim chief executive officer and at least 2 non-Muslim members to be appointed by the state government to essentially change the Waqf board's composition of only having Muslim members. Now, the JPC has changed this aspect. While 2 non-Muslim members will still be mandated to be a part of the board, it's also mandatory to have a member with knowledge of Muslim law. So these are the changes made to the bill based on suggestions of the JPC. But these are essentially partial concessions as the opposition claims that their suggested changes haven't been made. And certain parts of the bill, like 2 Muslim members of the Waqf to be women, survey of Waqf property by the government, and essentially that just the Waqf board can't declare what is Waqf property, they've been retained as was in the August 2024 bill. A dissent note was also added in the JPC report, which highlighted the issues that opposition had with the bill as it is now. Now, the government has ensured passage of the Waqf bill in Parliament as opposition MPs made their stand clear but couldn't stop the bill from being passed. What was Liberation Day for US President Donald Trump ironically threatens to trigger an all-out trade war for the rest of the world. Announcing his reciprocal tariffs, an event he'd been building up to for the last 2 months, Trump imposed a minimum of 10% tariff on countries across the world. India faces 26% tariffs while China has been slapped with 34%. But what exactly are tariffs and how do they work? Let me explain. A tariff is essentially a tax on imported goods. It's commonly known in India as import duty. It's a tax that a government puts on goods that come from another country. Tariffs are typically charged as a percentage of the price that a buyer pays a foreign seller. So if I were to give you an example, a 25% tariff on a $10 product would mean an additional $2.5 charge. Meanwhile, a reciprocal tariff, which is what is being talked about right now, is when one country sets its taxes on imported goods to match or respond to the tariffs that another country puts on their goods. Now, staying true to his campaign promise of an eye for an eye, tit for tat approach in global trade, the Trump administration has brought back the old principle of reciprocal tariff. Trump's stance is rooted in his long-standing belief that America is being unfairly treated in global trade. But why are tariffs charged? Well, by raising the price of imports, tariffs can protect homegrown manufacturers. Governments may impose tariffs for several reasons. First, to raise revenues. Second, to protect domestic homegrown industries. Third, to protect domestic consumers, you and me as well. And fourth, to protect national interests. Tariffs can hurt foreign countries by making their products pricier and harder to sell abroad. Foreign companies might have to cut prices, even sacrifice profits to offset the tariffs and try to maintain their market share, so they're still lucrative as an option. Tariffs can also be used to raise revenues for governments. This kind of tariff is called a revenue tariff. It's not designed to restrict imports. So if I were to give you an example of that, in 2018 and 2019, the Trump administration imposed tariffs on many items to rebalance the trade deficit. In the fiscal year 2018, custom duties received were $41.6 billion. And then in 2019, duties received was $71.9 billion. So let's talk about the history of tariffs. Before the federal income tax was established in 1913, tariffs were a major revenue driver for governments. Tariffs fell out of favor as global trade grew after the Second World War. Governments needed vastly bigger revenue streams to finance operations. So then, who pays the tariffs? Well, President Donald Trump insists tariffs are paid for by foreign countries, but it's in fact the importers, in this case the American companies, that pay tariffs, and the money goes to the US Treasury. Those companies in turn typically pass their higher costs onto their customers in the form of higher prices. That's why economists say consumers usually end up footing the bill for tariffs and getting penalized. So let's focus on India and US and trade relations between the two countries. From 2021 to 2024, the US was India's largest trading partner, accounting for about 18% of India's total goods exports, 6.22% of imports, and 10.73% of bilateral trade. While US is a significant trading partner for India, Trump has time and again referred to India as tariff king, as tariff abuser, indicating that America's friend, India, is no exception to the tariff rule.
India, which is the tariff king, they called us and they say, we want to start negotiations immediately. When Bob Lighthizer said, what happened? You would never do this. They said, no, we want to keep your president happy. They understand that we're wise to what's been happening. India charges tariffs of 100%. And then if we want to put a tariff of 25% on, people will call from Congress. But that's not free trade.
And that's why you're seeing reciprocal tariffs as well. Despite extensive trade between the two countries, the tariffs charged on imports by India and US are very different. India charges higher tariff rates on US imports and has one of the largest tariff gaps with the US versus other nations. As per a WTO report, in 2023, on an average basis, India levied a weighted average effective tariff of 12% on US exports, compared to a 2.2% tariff imposed by US on Indian goods. So you see the stark difference there. Now, with Trump going ahead and announcing a reciprocal tariff on India as well, we'll have to wait and watch to see what impact it has on us, on the Indian consumer. Kachativa, a small strip of land between India and Sri Lanka, has been in the heart of a political fight for the last 1 year. And now the Stalin government passed a resolution seeking the return of the island to India and has put this island in the news again. So let's tell you why Kachativa is such a contentious piece of land for India and Sri Lanka. Let's begin by telling you where exactly Kachativa is. It's located in the Park Strait between Rameshwaram in Tamil Nadu and the northern coast of Sri Lanka. This is just 1.9 square kilometers land. It's actually a group of islands. The larger island is known as Kachativa. The smaller one is called Imaravan. These islands have been historically significant due to their strategic location and their importance in the fishing activities of both India and Sri Lanka. And this island is just a few kilometers away from the Indian coast, yet Indian fishermen can't fish on this island. Why? Well, it was for many decades disputed territory where both Indian and Lankan fishermen would go and fish. But that changed in 1974. Before I tell you what exactly happened in 1974, let's talk about the dispute over Kachativa. The dispute over the island between the Ceylonese and Indian colonial governments arose in 1920. While the Indian view was that the island was part of India because it belonged to a landlord of the Raja of Ramnad, which is called Rameshwaram today, Ceylon claimed that Kachativa, along with St. Anthony's Church on the island, belonged to the Diocese of Jaffna. By 1921, both sides had agreed on a border that put the island within Ceylonese territory, but both sides could use the island. This island has huge significance for India. Its geopolitical location serves as a crucial maritime route. But most importantly for Indian fishermen, the waters around Kachativa are rich in marine resources, including fish and other seafood, which are vital for the livelihoods of fishermen from Tamil Nadu. But in May 1961, Jawaharlal Nehru had indicated that his government attached no importance to this island, saying, and I quote, "I attach no importance at all to this little island, and I would have no hesitation in giving up our claim to it." So it was handed over essentially to Sri Lanka in an agreement in 1974, as then Prime Minister Indira Gandhi accepted Kachativa as Sri Lankan territory under the Indo-Sri Lankan Maritime Agreement. So with India recognizing Kachativa as Lankan territory, Indian fishermen could no longer use this piece of land. According to the 1974 agreement, fishermen can rest and dry nets there. They also are allowed on the island once every year during a festival at the St. Anthony's Church. But importantly, they're not allowed to engage in any fishing activities because Kachativa has been recognized by India as the exclusive economic zone of Sri Lanka. Now, because largely fishermen from Tamil Nadu attempt to fish near Kachativa, their livelihoods have been badly affected from the 1970s. And so this has dominated politics in Tamil Nadu. Back in 1974, interestingly, RTIs have revealed that Indira Gandhi had consulted Kalaignar Karunanidhi, the then chief minister, and he'd given his nod for the decision to hand over Kachativa to Sri Lanka. Now this island is back to making headlines after Prime Minister Modi raised the issue during the 2024 elections.
जब कांग्रेस की सरकार थी, तब कई दशक पहले इन लोगों ने कच्चातीवो आइलैंड श्रीलंका को दे दिया। किस कैबिनेट में ये निर्णय हुआ, किसके फायदे के लिए फैसला हुआ, इस पर कांग्रेस की बोलती बंद है। बीते वर्षों में उस आइलैंड के पास जाने पर तमिलनाडु के हजारों मछुआरे गिरफ्तार हुए हैं, उनकी बोटें गिरफ्तार कर ली गई है। गिरफ्तारी पर कांग्रेस और डीएमके झूठी हमदर्दी दिखाते हैं, लेकिन ये लोग तमिलनाडु के लोगों को ये सच नहीं बताते कि कच्चातीवो आइलैंड उन्होंने श्रीलंका को दे दिया और तमिलनाडु की जनता को अंधेरे में रखा था।
A year later, it's back to dominating the political discourse as the Stalin government in Tamil Nadu has moved a resolution seeking retrieval of the island from Sri Lanka.
தீர்மானம். தமிழ்நாட்டு மீனவர்களின் பாரம்பரிய மீன்பிடி உரிமைகளை நிலைநாட்டிடவும், இலங்கை கடற்படையால் தமிழ்நாட்டு மீனவர்களுக்கு ஏற்படும் அனைத்து இன்னல்களை போக்கிடவும், கச்சத்தீவை மீண்டும் பெறுவதே நிரந்தர தீர்வாக அமையும். இதனை கருத்தில் கொண்டு இந்திய இலங்கை ஒப்பந்தத்தை மறுபரிசீலனை செய்து கச்சத்தீவை திரும்பப் பெறுவதற்கான அனைத்து நடவடிக்கைகளையும் ஒன்றிய அரசு உடனடியாக மேற்கொள்ள வேண்டும் என்றும், அரசு முறை பயணமாக இலங்கை செல்லும் மாண்புமிகு இந்திய பிரதமர் அவர்கள் அந்நாட்டு அரசுடன் பேசி இலங்கை சிறையில் வாடும் நம் நாட்டு மீனவர்களையும் அவரது படகுகளையும் நல்லெண்ண அடிப்படையில் விடுதலை செய்து மீட்டு கொண்டு வர வேண்டும் என்று இப்பேரவை வலியுறுத்துகிறது என்ற தீர்மானத்தை நான் முன்மொழிகிறேன்.
Despite its small size, Kachativa Island remains one of the biggest standoff points between India and Sri Lanka, as scores of Indian fishermen are repeatedly arrested by the Lankan Navy for attempting to fish in the island waters. Donald Trump's second term may only have just begun, but the US president is already hinting at the possibility of a third. Trump reiterated his suggestion that he might pursue a third presidential term despite the US Constitution's two-term limit. And he says, I'm not joking when asked to clarify on his remark about seeking another term, saying and claiming that there are actually methods in which it could be done.
I don't want to talk about a third term now because no matter how you look at it, we got a long time to go. We have a long time. You know, we have almost 4 years to go. And that's a long time. But despite that, so many people are saying, you've got to run again. They love the job we do. Most importantly, they love the job we do.
So is that actually the case? Can Trump seek a third term? Let's tell you what the US Constitution says. This is the 22nd Amendment to the US Constitution, ratified in 1951, which explicitly limits a president to 2 terms in office. This amendment was introduced after Franklin D. Roosevelt won 4 consecutive terms, serving from 1933 to 1945. Now, under the amendment, no person can be elected to the presidency more than twice, and no one who served more than 2 years of another president's term may be elected more than once. The word elected is important. So can the Constitution be changed? Well, to repeal the 22nd Amendment would be an arduous process requiring either a 2/3 majority vote in both the House and the Senate or a constitutional convention initiated by 2/3 of US states. In either case, any proposed amendment would then need to be ratified by 3/4 of the states, a scenario that experts say is highly unlikely given the current political landscape for Trump. Despite this, there has been some support within the Republican Party for extending presidential term limits. In fact, in early 2025 this year, Representative Andy Ogles of Tennessee introduced a resolution proposing an amendment that would allow a president to serve up to 3 terms, provided they were not consecutive. Under this proposal, former presidents Barack Obama, George W. Bush, and Bill Clinton would still be ineligible to return to office, while Trump, who served non-consecutive terms, would qualify to run again in 2028. However, this resolution has little chance of gaining the bipartisan support necessary for passage. No amendment has been ratified since the 1990s, and that one was first proposed in the 1700s. So is there another way? Well, Trump supporters have pointed out a potential loophole in the wording of the 22nd Amendment. While it explicitly states that a president cannot be elected more than twice, and again stressing on the word elected, it doesn't prohibit a former two-term president from assuming the office through succession. This has led to speculation that Trump could return to power by running as a vice presidential candidate in 2028. If his running mate were to win and then resign shortly after taking office, Trump could then automatically step up, ascend to the presidency once again. This attempt to use the vice presidency as a backdoor route to a third term is likely to face legal challenges, though. The 12th Amendment here states that no person constitutionally ineligible to the office of president shall be eligible to that of vice president of the United States. So this suggests that if Trump is barred from serving a third term as president, he may also be ineligible to run for vice president. Age matters too. At 78 years, 9 months and 17 days old, Donald Trump, the 45th and the 47th president of America, is the oldest president as of his second inauguration in the country's history. Trump would be 82 at the end of his second term, a few months older than his predecessor Joe Biden at the end of his presidential term. And remember how much Joe Biden was trolled for his age. So that's another aspect. That's all we have time for in this edition of India Today Explains. I'll see you next week with all the big stories of the week. Thanks very much for tuning in. The news and updates, as always, continue here on India Today.
Weather forecast now. Delhi, maximum 38 and minimum 24 degrees. Mumbai, maximum 31 and minimum 27 degrees. Kolkata, maximum 39 and minimum 26 degrees. Bangalore, maximum 29 and minimum 19 degrees. Chennai, maximum 33 and minimum 27 degrees. Hyderabad, maximum 35 and minimum 21 degrees.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com. Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com.
So sorry.
Good evening, viewers. You're watching To The Point. I'm Preeti Chaudhary. Our top debate comes in the aftermath of the Waqf Amendment Bill, or what the government terms it as an Umeed Bill. Well, that's our top debate, and at 7:30 today, Democratic Newsroom is back. But first up, allow me to take you through the headlines.